obviously we'll just, well, like.
Yeah. That would be helpful too. Good morning again. It is Thursday, February 19th, 2026. I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Sacramento Area Council of Governments Directors. If you would first join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Robert is ably filling in as our clerk this morning. And if you would take roll call, please.
Yes, directors, when I call your name, please indicate your presence. Sorry, is this loud enough for you? It is on. Director Andreatta.
Present.
Baines.
Present.
Boomgarden.
Present.
Branscombe.
Yo.
House for Bradford.
Here.
Houlihan.
Here.
Chapdelaine.
Here.
Chapman.
Here.
Clark Press.
Here.
Clarici.
Over here.
Desmond.
Here.
Early. Absent. Hottishell.
Here.
Hume.
Sure, you sure about that?
Director Hume.
Director
Here.
Jennings.
Jennings.
Apparently he wasn't sure.
Director Jennings.
Yes.
Jones.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Kozlowski.
Here.
Lauren.
Here.
Maple.
Here.
McCauley. Absent.
Here.
She's online. Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Sander. Absent. Lopez Taft for
Here.
Schaefer.
Here.
Soon.
Here.
Teeter. Absent. Bierkamp.
Here.
Vega. Absent. Villegas.
Here.
Chair Gallardo. And Dr. Carr for Aceves.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And welcome to our guests. It's nice to see some new faces. I did not know that Folsom had someone other than our own Mike Kozlowski. I thought you were it.
Council members.
Who knew?
Most of them are an
Who knew?
upgrade too,
Yeah.
so.
Well, welcome. Before we get on to public comment and our agenda, we do have a little change. You notice we have some faces that are participating remotely, and I'm going to turn it over to Mike Maurer to go run with you on what our changes are going to be, and then we will do an item follow.
So thank you, Chair. What we're going to do is we have two directors who are appearing remotely today. So Director McCauley is appearing using the old 2449 provisions for just cause.
Mike, I apologize, but it is hard to hear you guys for some reason on that
Okay.
side.
Yeah,
It's hard to hear everybody.
We're working on it.
There we go. I can hear you.
There we go.
okay. It still doesn't. All right. That sounds like it's better. Okay.
Outside voice.
So Director McCauley is appearing using the old 2449 for just cause for childcare purposes, which means, again, you can do that twice a year, but you have to have just cause. We have another item that is a new action that will allow us to expand the use of remote. So Director Dowden Calvillo is going to be using that new action, but we have to take an action first. So I'd recommend, Chair, if we can move that up to the beginning of the meeting, that way we could take the action and Director Dowden Calvillo can join us.
Perfect. So hopefully everybody caught that. This is with this lovely storm, it's the perfect time to test this case. So we are going to move item 9 at the beginning of the agenda. So if we would, I think that is any further presentation you need to give?
Yeah, I had a whole presentation to convince you why this would be useful, but I probably don't need to do it anymore. So essentially what this allows you to do is it would allow any of directors to participate remotely twice a year if you have to travel 20 miles or more to the location. So obviously this is the perfect circumstance where this may come into play. I'm sorry. And so the one caveat we wrote into this, in order to use it under the Brown Act, there does have to be adoption of a resolution. That's why it's an action item here today. The other caveat we put in, I didn't put this in the resolution, but just as part of the motion, is that we would allow it as an option except for when we have the offsite board meetings. Because this was the recommendation of the Strategic Planning Committee was that the purpose of doing the offsite board meeting is to get everyone out there. And so we wouldn't want to have a situation where every time we go off site, everyone now uses the 20-mile rule. So we felt like that was a good exception to carve out of it, but otherwise for circumstances like this, it's very useful. The one last thing I'll add is you do have copies of the Brown Act at your table, just to put on the record. That's an SB 707 rule. For every board you're on now, you have to be provided a copy of the Brown Act. So we've checked the box, we've met SB 707. So we would just need an action chair. And because we do have people remote, all our actions are gonna have to be roll call vote today. So we're gonna make Robert work a little extra while Lynette's out. So we will need a vote to approve that resolution if we, I'm happy to answer questions, but otherwise we could take a motion.
Through the chair. Move
Yes.
move to approve the recommended action.
Thank you.
Second.
Didn't say thank you, so you.
Comment.
Baines and Kowalski.
I have a quick
Alright.
comment. I travel more than 20 miles every time I come to one of these damn meetings.
I know.
I mean,
Yeah.
what's the big deal about 20 miles? That seems like a very narrow exception. I don't understand it.
And I would check with you, was that a
It
requirement of
comes,
20
it
miles?
comes out of the statute. It's not our requirement, it's the legislative requirement. This is an exception that only applies to multi-jurisdictional bodies. So agencies like this, that's a JPA where it's coming from different agencies. And there was some argument within the legislature as we were trying to get more virtual options passed. Some agencies like ours said, well, we have people driving from all over. We're trying to reduce the amount of driving. You know, if you're driving really far, then maybe we should have some other exceptions built in. So it's a very limited exception that the legislature put in, and we're just implementing it here. We're not coming up with the 20-mile limit.
Well, many, if not most of us lived through the COVID problem where everybody was zooming in. And I'm really in favor of board meetings where everybody shows up. And so I would limit exceptions to extreme cases. Don't we have to do roll call voting whenever we have people remote?
We do. Yep.
No, it creates annoying problems, and no offense to people who are online today. It's just, I would narrow the exceptions even more or suggest that, but that might not fly.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? And just to clarify again, so it's 20 miles and twice a year and none of our remote meetings is it?
Correct. Although I would say it's twice a year per body that you sit on. So twice a year for the board, twice a year for your committees.
Thank you. Well, I know Colfax, the freeway has been shut down at Colfax, and I know that our director is using a different reasoning today, but certainly I expected that you weren't going to be leaving Colfax today. Thank you.
Nope, I have 8 inches on my porch right now.
That's what I assumed. All right, yes, Director Jennings.
Just a clarifying question on the 20 miles. Is that one way or both ways?
It's one way.
One way?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
just want to be
20
clear on it. So it's a total of 40 miles if in
Correct.
fact you were to come.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Oh, I'll open up for public comment. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment.
Thank you. Now I'll bring it back up for direction from the board.
So we have-
second.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Motion saying we have to do a roll call vote.
Correct. Directors, when I call your name, please indicate your vote. Andriata,
Yes.
Baines,
Aye.
Boomgarden,
Aye.
House for Bradford,
No.
Branscombe,
No,
Houlihan,
Aye.
Chapdelaine,
Yes.
Chapman,
Aye.
Clark Kretz.
Yes.
Clarici,
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Desmond.
Aye.
Early, absent. Galdo,
Yes.
Hadashelt,
Yes.
Hume,
I'm looking for houses 4 miles further away, so aye.
Jennings,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Kennedy, Kozlowski,
Aye.
Lauren,
Aye.
Maple,
Aye.
McCauley. Director McCauley, you're on mute. Please indicate your vote. I'm sorry.
I muted it.
Can you vote one more time?
Aye.
Thank you. Rodriguez. Sander, absent. Lopez Taft for Schaefer.
Aye.
Soon.
Aye.
Teeter, absent. Veerkamp.
Aye.
Vega, absent. Villegas.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
And Chair will note that Director Dowden Calvillo is now present at the meeting as well.
Thank you.
And if I may, through the chair, Madam Chair, as you can see out my lovely window, here in Auburn, we have a couple of inches of snow as well. I would prefer to be there in person, but I'm in a very steep neighborhood and like I said, we've got snow on the ground, so grateful for the opportunity to participate remotely today.
Thank you.
Don't they plow her photo first? I know it flashed.
Yeah, that's right. So moving on, our next item is public communications. This is an opportunity for anyone from the public to comment on any item that is not on our agenda today. We're not able to take action, but be happy to hear your message. Do we have any public comment?
There is no public comment.
All right, thank you. Well, moving on back to our regular agenda order, I want to check first, does anyone have any, disclose any conflict with anything on the agenda today? First. All right, seeing none, then we'll go on, moving on to our special presentation. We're going to start today with a special presentation on local jurisdiction highlights from the 2025 blueprint. Becky Johnson is going to lead our discussion and then introduce our new guest.
Can you hear me now? Wonderful. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Becky Johnson with your data and analysis team. And I know everybody loves storytelling, and sometimes telling a story involves showing in addition to telling. So we have some tools for you that you can use in your communities to talk about the blueprint. And I'm going to share my screen. So this is something you will be able to access anywhere you have internet access. So first you will go, or let's see, here we go. First you'll go to the SACOG website, and then you'll go to planning. And that is going to take you to the 2025 blueprint. And then from there, you can scroll down a little bit and click here where it says blueprint highlights. And this is where you will be able to access story maps of each one of our highlights from the blueprint broken down by jurisdiction. And Madam Chair, I will give a highlight from your neck of the woods. So first we would start on the Placer County highlights. And then you can scroll down and look at the entire county, or you can look at the cities within each county. So in Rockland, first, each one of these provides a description of the community itself. And then you have a GIS map of the city limits or jurisdiction limits wherever you're looking. And then those circles within the map depict where these highlights are from the blueprint. And so if you keep scrolling down, it will give you a photo and a description of what the project will be. So there's a rendering of what this project will be. I think we have a little bit of a slow connection this morning. So there would be a map that pops up and a project description. Let's wait for this to load. Okay, here we go. So this describes the College Park project. This shows on the map, you can see the circle where it's going to be located. It's near Sierra College. It gives a description of what's going to be happening, future infill development, pedestrian-oriented areas, access to employment, shopping, housing, and cultural activities. So it gives some good descriptions. Here's another project. So you can zoom in on the map. It will show you exactly where it is. And then this will describe the Rockland Road Sierra College Corridor multimodal enhancements. And so you've seen the PDF or the printed version of the jurisdiction highlights. So this is the same type of information in an interactive format that you can access at any of your public presentations. When you're meeting with anybody from your community, any other interested party, you can pull this up and click through. So that's one example of one of the jurisdictions, and we have these all throughout the region. So this is available for you anywhere you have internet access. And then you can just go back and click on whatever county you wish. Let's take a look at some Sutter County. So there are beautiful photos, renderings, and it goes through city by city. So does anybody have any questions or comments on how to use this? And again, you just access it through the SACOG website, click on planning and then 2025 blueprint, and you'll be able to access all of this.
Yes,
And if
how
you-
updated is this?
This is from, it's from when the blueprint was adopted. So just within the last couple of months, this has been loaded on here. So it's completely up to date.
And then you'll update it each year?
It's from the 2025 blueprint. So it is a snapshot in time as far as which projects were included in that.
We'll get back to you. Some of these
Yeah.
projects, Chair Gallardo, are going to take a while to get funded, to get advanced. So I would imagine we're not going to be changing this. We're actually going to be working with each of your jurisdictions to try to get a lot of these projects advanced, accelerated, and funded and in the ground. So we'll let you know.
Yes.
how long.
And we do have flexibility to update as needed.
Thank you. Any questions on this new tool? All right, well, thank you for the hard work. This is going to be fun. Now I get to go check out and see what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
And Chair Gallardo, I just want to say, obviously, with the adoption of the blueprint, we want to keep this fresh, right? So this is our, as you know, Becky is our relatively new Director of Data Analysis. Your GIS team has built that, and each of those projects were developed by your staff, working with our staff as examples of how we implement regionally the blueprint in every single local community, every single city and county. So it's a great tool. It's very visual.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
very briefly, could you tell us the depth and the strengths of the GIS team? How many are there? It's just not Becky. Becky just spent her holidays coding this up and, right?
And that was before I even started. No, you have a wonderful team here of experts on the data and analysis team. We have some excellent institutional experience we have one person who's been here for a couple of decades now, and then we have some newer members of the team as well. So on the GIS team itself, under the mapping and monitoring team, there are 3 people, a couple of whom specialize in GIS. Craig McLean is especially skilled when it comes to these story maps. We also have people who are experts at coding a lot of the information that comes in. It's definitely a collaborative effort. And then over on the transportation modeling and analysis team, you have 4 people, including 3 PhDs. So it's a phenomenal team, extremely collaborative, leaders in what they do, collaborative with other members of the team, and also with your employees in your jurisdictions.
Thank you.
So lots of experience. Thank you.
Chair Gallardo,
Thank you. Yes.
just a quick comment. So I do agree. I think it's a very useful tool, looks great. And if it hasn't already been coordinated with SACOG staff, encourage all of you to work with your PIO and, webpage folks. Let's get this link on there. I think this is a great tool for all our residents to see. So thank you.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you. I think this is great too. And I really look forward to any tools that I can push out to constituents. Just a little point on the Sacramento County one. It looks like the Sacramento County tab is the same verbiage from the City of Sacramento tab, which, obviously all the unincorporated county communities appreciate the distinction being made when we're talking about these projects.
Sure. Let me take a closer look at that. And I also,
take a look, because I think it's just probably, I know it's still a work in progress.
okay, great. Yeah, thank you
Thank
for
you.
letting me know. And I also misspoke. I was counting the employees under the supervisors on the team. So we have 5 people total in the GIS group, and 5, because we also have a couple of interns on the modeling side. So Sacramento County, I'm just taking a look. Oh, you're right. It says the City of Sacramento. So I will take a closer look at that. Of course. I'm scrolling down to see if
They're the same, right? They're the same.
People in Arden Arcade really.
that's my neighborhood. Okay, we'll take a closer look. Thank you so much for the
Well,
feedback.
it's a perfect time to ask everybody to certainly look at your own jurisdiction when you get a moment and make sure to give you any feedback for things like that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Thank you. What a tremendous tool. I'm excited to see it, and I love the idea of connecting with our own web pages.
Wonderful. Thanks.
All right, well, we have moved the agenda around a bit this morning, and so before I move on, I will ask if there's any items on the agenda, or any adjustments that anyone else is looking for, since we've already made a few. Oh, and one more, because a few
All right. I
adjustments
know
weren't enough.
we don't typically
You have
do
this
sort of
lovely placemat.
public service announcement at the top of the
Yes.
meeting, but we wanted to make sure, again, we gave you the, a little bit of the drive through the tool for the blueprint. What you have in front of you at your seats is also brand new, a bit of a test. Rather than throw a million things at you and a bunches of pieces of paper, our staff thought we would just have one place where you can find everything. So let me just orient you on this, what's down here. We've got a great workshop that you're going to be hearing a little bit about, and we'd like you to take a survey after the workshop and just let us know how it goes. You can fill those out there, or you can use the QR code on the placemat to then take the survey and let us know if this is helpful information you're going to hear today in the workshop. A couple of other quick polls. One is for a reception for the board sometime this spring. This is something that we typically do. If you can fill out, and I think this is available on the online poll as well, your availability for those dates. And finally, you'll see something here around a session on using social media to highlight the work of your local jurisdiction or the work of SACOG. And I'm sorry that Vice Chair Bradford couldn't be here today. Supervisor House, good to see you in his stead. I know Supervisor Bradford has been really interested in how can, and prolific, I would say, on using social media to basically really advocate for transportation investments. He did a poll recently of his residents in Plumas Lake about an express bus service that is being planned up and down the 70 corridor, and got so many responses that they are now looking at putting an express bus stop in Plumas Lake as part of this service. And so if you're interested in, I know many of you use social media, which is fantastic, but a great way perhaps to highlight the story map that you just saw, a great way perhaps to highlight some of the projects that we're working on mutually with your city or county. So just let us know if you'd like to do something a little bit more informal on using social media to, and again, I know we have a lot of experts in the room, a lot of very prolific social media users. But that was something I think in particular Vice Chair Bradford said, hey, I would love to get together with anybody else who's interested. So a little bit of a different thing. Fill out that placemat. You can do it analog, you can do it digital, and hopefully it's helpful. Let us know.
All right, thank you. Any other questions on this? You got it? We'll have our, I like the placemat look too. They'll remind us to get it in.
Take notes on placemat.
That's right.
Do whatever you want with a placemat. It really is yours.
Oh, that's all.
Madam Chair, one thing I didn't see on the placemat was the study mission. Will you be talking about that later?
It's there, June 24th to 26th.
Oh, board peer, right, yeah. I was looking for
Region tour.
specific language and didn't see it coded as peer review region tours. I was looking for study mission. That's why I missed it.
And not to confuse you with a Metro Chamber study mission that is going to Detroit this September, which
Okay.
would be a good opportunity as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
you saw the face.
To be fair, there weren't many seats left. That's what
I can move.
No. I'm happy to have.
Check out that,
Yeah.
just
Director
to
Soon
clarify,
saved me.
so cap to cap, there's no pre-SACOG.
There is
trip
no
this year?
pre-SACOG tour for Cap to Cap this year. We're basically doing an off-year rotation. So every other year we'll do pre-Cap to Cap. Every other year we'll do the peer region. So stay tuned, yes, but do go to Cap to Cap. And if you're signing up for transportation team, which many of you are, thank you. Big year for transportation. We'll be in touch with you about that as well.
All right. Moving on, next item on our agenda is our consent calendar. Is there any item that anyone would like to pull for further discussion from the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any member of the public like to have further discussion on any item on the consent calendar?
There's no public comment.
All right, thank you. With that, roll call vote, please.
Directors, when I call your name, please indicate your vote. Andriotta,
Aye.
Baines,
Aye.
Bloomgarden,
Aye.
House for Bradford, Branscombe. Branscombe, your vote?
Yes.
Houlihan,
Aye.
Chapdelaine,
Yes.
Chapman, Clark Kretz,
Yes.
Clarici,
Yes.
Desmond, Dowden Calvillo,
Aye.
Early,
Aye.
Gallardo,
Aye.
Haddishell,
Aye.
Hume,
Aye.
Jennings, Jones,
Aye.
Kennedy, Kozlowski,
Here, yes.
Lauren,
Aye.
Maple,
Aye.
McCauley. I believe she said aye. Yep, she's nodding her head. Aye. Rodriguez. Sander, absent. Apologies. Lopez Taft,
Aye.
Schaefer. Zoom,
Aye.
Teeter, absent. Bierkamp. Aye. Vega, absent. Villegas. Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, we've covered item 9, so we are moving on to item number 10, Sacramento County Fund Swap Request. And Sac County is requesting the SACOG board authorized to swap SACOG awarded federal funds from the Hazel Avenue US 50 interchange for local dollars from 3 other projects. And Miguel Mendoza will be our presenter. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair, directors. Miguel Mendoza on your planning and programming team. And again, the item before you is for your consideration of approving Sacramento County's fund swap request. Before getting into the details of each specific project, just brief background on why the request is before you and really the basics of a fund swap. As part of our work in planning and programming, we aim to bridge between the blueprint, which was just approved, and starting the projects. As part of this bridging, one of the things that we have in our toolbox are fund swaps. And the most middle of the road fund swap is usually between 2 projects, both with SACOG awarded funds, federal dollars, and local dollars. The swap itself is moving all of the federal dollars from one project to the other. And in return, the other project must have an equal amount or more of local dollars. We'll send it right back. So what we have as a product then is one project now fully locally funded with all of the benefits of local projects. You don't have to go through a lot of the federal process, authorization, oversight, closeout, all the good stuff. The other project, which received the federal dollars, already had to go through those steps. So presumably no delay in its process or an increase in cost. And so that's, again, a usual fund swap that we will be able to do administratively. While the benefit to that particular fund swap is to the fully local project, there is sometimes a benefit to a non-federal project receiving federal dollars. Particularly, it's for projects where the implementing agency expects, plans, hopes to get federal construction dollars. And the benefit here is this, right? Once, if that project receives federal dollars early, they can get the federal environmental process started and completed. And so what wouldn't happen is they wouldn't get the construction dollars later on, have to go back, do the environmental process before proceeding to construction. That adds, depending on what type of environmental process you have to do, months to years, right? So we're making these projects more shovel ready. And both of those benefits, fully localizing one, and then starting federal environmental on the other, we'll see those benefits on these projects. And before really getting into the details of it, I want to refer you to attachment A of this item. We have the details of what money is going where, but also on the second page, we also listed out how these exchanges and benefits implement the blueprint. And so the projects that we're looking at today, again, there's 4 of them. The first one, US 50 Hazel Interchange. This is the project that we're looking to move federal dollars off of. Segment one of this project is fully funded with local and state dollars. And by moving the federal money off of it, again, we're hoping to see that benefit of relatively simpler administrative delivery, but also perhaps some cost savings because there's less staff time. And then the second project on your list here is Greenback Lane Complete Streets. This is a project that would receive the federal dollars, again, for the benefit of starting federal environmental and getting it complete in the hopes of receiving federal construction dollars later on. And then we have Stockton Boulevard as your third project here. This is a neutral benefit. Stockton Boulevard recently received a funding award from SACOG at last year's State Transportation Improvement Program funding round. And so this is one of those projects where it already had federal dollars. It's going to have to go through all these things anyway. It's identified here because it has enough local cash to absorb this swap. And then last is Watt Avenue. There's a couple of layers of benefits here. The first, again, being able to start federal environmental. The second is the county would like to match up their schedule with a mega region project, particularly Sacramento to Roseville third track. And by matching up this schedule, the hope is that we can get the improvements on this project alongside the third track project. Otherwise, I believe like the estimate is like another 75 years before we can look at an improvement here. Again, because of the new infrastructure that's being laid down by this mega region project. And then on that second page, a lot of words, but we laid out here again, because we're focused on implementing the blueprint, the policies that each of these swaps would support and the benefits of advancing them essentially, just by a little bit or maybe even some cost savings. So I'd refer you to that for the full analysis of it. But again, happy to answer any questions on these things, but for your consideration and approval.
Thank you, Miguel. Questions? All right. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment.
Thank you. And I will bring it back to the board.
Madam Chair, move the item.
Second.
Soon and Havishell. And a roll call vote, please.
All right, Andreatta,
Aye.
Baines,
Aye.
Boomgarden,
Aye.
House for Bradford,
Aye.
Branscombe,
Aye.
Houlihan, Chapdelaine,
Yes.
Chapman. Aye. Clark Kretz.
Yes.
Parikh,
Yes.
Desmond. Aye. Dowden Calvillo,
Aye.
Hurley,
Aye.
Gallardo,
Aye.
Adishel,
Aye.
Butte,
Aye.
Jennings,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Kennedy, Kozlowski,
Aye.
Lauren,
Aye.
Maple.
Aye.
McCauley. Note for the record that McCauley is saying aye and nodding her head. Rodriguez. Sander, absent. Lopez Tap for Schaefer.
Aye.
Noon,
Aye.
Peter, absent. Bierkamp,
Aye.
Vega, absent. Villegas. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes. Mr.
is
Havishell?
Macaulay elevated to a panelist or does she need to upgrade her?
She just has a bad internet connection.
Sometimes you have to upgrade the system and it kicks you off your microphone, so I'm just being technical.
Yeah.
Many hats, huh?
Yeah. None of them fit.
Chair Gallardo, just a quick pause on this. I appreciate not a lot of questions on that last item. There's two things though I think we're bringing in front of you this morning, and we're going to be doing the household travel survey fairly soon here with Becky Johnson that I think are things that SACOG does that are sometimes behind the scenes and people don't know about that provide tremendous benefits. So you heard about the mapping and the data team that Becky drove through the story map. You're going to hear in a second about household travel survey, which connects to a travel model, which may sound academic, but it actually is the thing that all of you cities, counties, developers use all the time, this regional travel model. So that's on data analysis. And the other piece that you just heard from Miguel, and there wasn't a lot of questions on it, but our team works really hard on delivering projects from a funding perspective. So there's a clock on all funds. The clock ticks. Those projects are often difficult. The costs escalate and they may expire, right? And so what you just approved is actually accelerating projects, this time within Sacramento County, but we do that across all 6 counties. It's called our programming and project delivery team. They provide a tremendous service. You just don't really hear about it because we don't often have to come to you for the authorization to move money around. But I do want to let you know that's a tremendous benefit. When other regions in California are sometimes at risk of losing funding, we are able to swap money with those other regions, keep the money in California, deliver projects sooner, all right? And all from the hard work of Miguel and Jackie Cars and that team. So I just want to, unsung perhaps, not often seen at a board level, but really, really important work. And that's a bit of a tee up to the household travel survey that's coming up as well.
Thank you. Okay, our last action item is item 11, authorize request for proposals for household travel survey. And our staff, Vicki Johnson, will be in our presenter.
Hi,
Welcome
good
back.
morning. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm still Becky Johnson with your data and analysis team. So most of you, thank you. Most of you, apart from the opening conversation you had about mileage this morning, most of you probably did not wake up this morning or any other morning thinking about, I'm going to drive 62 miles today. I'm going to make 12 stops. I need to go to the store. I have to do this. I have to do that. You probably aren't thinking about that. You thought you woke up thinking about the responsibilities you had. Where did you need to go? Who in your life needed you to help them get there? Maybe you were taking care of a parent. Maybe you have a child to take to school in addition to what you need to do. So travel isn't the goal. Travel is actually what connects the activities that make up our daily lives. So the model that James just referenced, and thank you for the shout out for the behind the scenes work. Our model is activity based. And so that's to understand not just counting vehicles on the road, but simulating how people structure their day. What's the sequence of those activities? What's the timing? What's that coordination like in a household? It also looks at traffic, transit use, miles traveled. That all emerges from those decisions. So here's the thing, people don't structure their days under the same conditions. Some households have multiple cars and flexible schedules. Others, especially those of you who are in rural areas, or those of you who work a lot with transit-dependent households, they have to plan their entire day around when they're going to leave, when they can come back. So it's all about the frequency, the distance, and sometimes they have limited options. In many cases, they have limited options. So the household travel survey is what captures all of those lived realities. It doesn't just tell us where people go, but what the constraints are that shape how and when they go. So we're designing this survey intentionally to reflect the full diversity of the region, including urban, suburban, rural, higher income, lower income, transit dependent, car dependent. Because if we miss those differences, the model becomes less sensitive to the real world conditions that we all face, all of your community members face. And if we get those behavioral inputs right in the model, we can test the policies and the investments that you're making with confidence. And if we don't, we risk designing around averages, and we might overlook the communities whose travel patterns are shaped by the most constraints. So what is the household travel survey? It is our chance to provide your cities, counties, transit districts, state agencies, other government entities, developers, and other partners with the data that help shape the decisions that are being made about people's day-to-day lives, how they get from point A to point B. The survey allows jurisdictions and other partners to understand how the post-pandemic, so our last survey was done in 2018, so we're looking at post-pandemic travel patterns, how they're affecting the communities, including telework and hybrid work, trip rates and timing, school travel, discretionary travel, and any household decision-making. So we're looking at those behavioral inputs. This is aligning with statewide best practices. Caltrans, air districts, and neighboring MPOs rely on the model outputs for conformity analysis and corridor modeling and joint planning efforts. And the quality of the outputs depends on having current observed household travel data. Peer MPOs, including MTC, Sandag, SCAG, and Fresno COG, have all completed or they are conducting post-pandemic household travel surveys. So this would enhance our competitiveness as SACOG for state and federal grants that require the defensible modeling and equity analysis. So why now? How much has changed since 2020 as far as people's travel patterns, not just with telework and hybrid work patterns, shifts in trip timing and frequency, evolving mode choices, household compositions have changed. We've all aged a little bit. So how have those dynamics observed how and why we travel? Our most recently adopted blueprint was developed using the best available data and modeling practices at the time. That included the household travel behavior from the 2018 household travel survey, along with other updated inputs being incorporated in the plan development. This proposed household travel survey that we're talking about today is about future readiness and defensibility. It refreshes that behavioral data foundation that supports our travel model, so future model updates, policy testing, your grant applications, and the next blueprint cycle reflect the current conditions. So that will it will help us maintain the integrity of the model and how we make decisions, how you make decisions, how we can provide you the best information possible. So what is it and what is not? Household travel survey is a core input to the model. It's a key ingredient, along with employment data, housing data, census data. It makes our model more accurate. And some people might say, well, can't you just use AI? Isn't there, I hear this phrase, big data. What does that mean? Can't you just do that? Can't you just push a button and make it happen? So big data is this whole universe, this whole constellation of other data inputs. And we do use big data. It's a complement to what we're doing with the household travel survey and the other inputs. It's not a substitute. And big data and the household travel survey, that can become part of that universe of big data. So we can't rely on what's out there. We need our own inputs. So our approach and what we would like to do is we want to go back to the nearly 4,000 households who participated in the 2018 household travel survey and talk to them again. We want to find out how those specific households have changed their behavior, or maybe they haven't, we don't know. So that type of longitudinal data is powerful to be able to go back to the same people and find out what's changed, what's evolved, what stayed the same. That's going to be the first phase. Then we would like to go back out to all new households, and we use census block data, and we are looking at sample data that is representative of the entire region: rural, suburban, urban, higher income, lower income, transit dependent. And there are certain audiences we know we would want to target more, so we can do what's called oversampling, so we can get a better chance at getting the most representative sampling from them. So when we had this discussion in the Policy and Innovation Committee last week, that came up a couple of times. Well, I'm in a smaller community. How can I make sure that we're represented in this? How do you know you're hitting all the right people? How can we not be diluted by what's happening in some of the bigger jurisdictions? So we're not relying on proportional sampling alone. In the rural areas where people have to travel longer distances, maybe there are vehicle access issues or system constraints differ, we intentionally collect more surveys than the population share would suggest. And the goal is to reach a sufficient number of completed households so we can estimate those stable behavioral patterns. And then once those patterns are estimated, we apply statistical weights so that those smaller communities, the rural responses reflect the actual population size within the entire region. So in other words, we collect enough rural data to understand the behavior, and then we scale it appropriately so it represents the true population in the region. So what we're doing is we are targeting some engagement with strategic partners. That means we're reaching out to other RTPAs. We'll be reaching out to transit districts, SMUD is also interested in some EV infrastructure. We want to reach out to our community partners, like the different chambers representing diverse parts of the community, and ask them, are the questions that we asked in 2018 as relevant today as they were then? Is there anything additional we need to be asking? How have people's work patterns, household composition, travel patterns, how have those changed? What should we be asking differently? So we're going to be making sure that we're asking the right things. We also want to make sure that community partners understand what we're doing because they're trusted leaders in their own communities. So if somebody receives a request to participate in this survey, they're going to go, oh my gosh, this seems like a lot. It seems like a big commitment. They're asking me a lot of questions about where I'm going and what I'm doing. How can I trust this information? We want to make sure that those trusted community leaders, the people, you know who they all are in your own communities. You are them yourselves, and you also have your partners in your own communities. When they call up and say, should I trust this? Can I answer this? You can say with authority, yes, this is actually a really important part of what the region's going to look like in the decades to come. So we'll be making those connections. I'll be collaborating with my government and public affairs colleagues here to do that. When people decide to participate, it's flexible. They can use an app on their phone. They can use a web diary online. So just, on a computer on a website, or they can call in. When we're doing recruiting right now, the default languages are English and Spanish, but we're going to be reaching out to community partners to see if we can expand that and which languages should be included. And once people decide to participate, it has in-app and online Google Translate options to make it accessible for most people. So the consequences of not doing this, we would continue to rely on our pre-2020 survey data, and that would weaken our competitiveness for any discretionary grants. We would fall behind the other regions within California, and it would degrade our model for the long run. It is an investment of $1.2 million, and the request that we're asking today is to approve the survey and also authorize the release of the request for proposals for a consultant to help us get the survey up and running, to recruit the people to be involved, to design the survey itself, to collect the data, and work with our team when we do the data collection and calibration and validation. And I welcome any questions that you have.
Thank you very much. And I didn't get a chance to speak for advance, but before we open up for questions, a chair of our policy and innovation, Alice down Cavio. Alice, hopefully you're hearing me. I know there was an in-depth conversation. Perhaps you could give a short overview. Might answer some of the questions.
Sure, I would be happy to do that. We did have quite a discussion about this item at our last meeting, and there were some great questions asked with regards to the necessity for having this data, which, it's so important, as Becky indicated, but it also plays into the big data that we also depend upon. We talked about the cost. It is substantial, but the level of detail that's needed in these kinds of surveys is extreme. These are individuals who are having to keep a journal of their weekly traveling. I mean, I don't know if you could pay me $10 or $20 to try to keep that kind of level of detail, but it's the level of detail that we need. And Becky's assured us that we will get very diverse data that is consistent across our region. So that's what I have to report. And we are very much in recommendation and support.
Thank you. I'll bring it back for questions. Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Clark,
I have a question about, you said that you're using the same households that you used from 2018.
Yes.
And how will we incorporate the information from the people that are living in new neighborhoods? Because I feel like they have a lot to offer too. For instance, people can't afford to live, in certain areas. So now they're having to move to, areas that are new neighborhoods, which that has affected their travel as well. Have you thought about that sort of data?
Sure, that's a great question. So we had about almost 4,000 people respond in 2018, and recognizing that people have moved, people's lives have changed since then, we're hoping to resample 500 of those households. We're going to reach out to all the people with whom we connected in 2018, knowing that we're not going to be able to get through to all of them. Maybe some of them won't be able to participate this time around. So we're hoping to get 500 of those same households. So yeah, it wouldn't be a like for like populations or sample size that we're getting from them. And then that's also why we're going to be expanding a wider net and going out to a whole new population of people to get another sample in addition to the ones that we talked to in 2018.
Okay, that's great. And since COVID, I think your data is going to be just so important to collect. And so thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yeah. Oh, okay, one right ahead of you.
Yep. Thank you, Becky, for the presentation. And I just wondered, so this data is one component of a broader data set that we're going to use. You said there's the big data description and now, and I just wondered, in terms of hopefully in the next couple of years, the Capital Area Tolling Authority will go live, and that will probably change some of the travel patterns in the region. And I wondered, is that data that, I mean, obviously you're not going to have to re-sample or kind of redo the work, but there will be mechanisms with which to collect that data and incorporate it into the data sets. Is that a fair assumption? Because I mean, those of us that are currently active on the Capital Area Tolling Authority work, the idea of that thing getting going, becoming live and being a component of our region, and then I-5 corridor being shortly thereafter, is going to change the travel pattern. So how does that get incorporated into what becomes a broader data set that we can actually use?
Sure. Yeah, it's evolving. It's dynamic. We use all relevant available data sources that could help shape this. We would just work with our team of experts to figure out what's most appropriate to include. Think of the model as baking a cake. You have your core ingredients, you have your ACS data, you have your household travel survey data, you have your employment and housing data. Those are like your flour, sugar, your eggs. So, and the model tells us, you know, how big of a cake do you want? How many people do you need to serve? And you can look at the different proportions. Maybe you want to add some flavor. Maybe you want to add in some big data. Maybe you want to add in some tolling authority data and see how that can change what that cake looks like in the long run.
Thank you. Director Henderson.
Yeah, a couple of questions. Is the qualitative information you're collected validated with quantitative information from Porchlight or trip generation studies or anything like that?
Validation is a significant part of this. So we'll be collecting a lot of the data. Most of it will be, it's mostly the way that they're asked. It's a lot of quantitative data, but there are some qualitative aspects to understand the behavioral aspects of it. And yes, there is a validation to ensure that what we're collecting from this matches or is aligned with other data sources that we use. That's a huge part of the process. In fact, in the original discussion with the committee last week, I had put 2028 as the end date for when this survey period would wrap up, as far as the design, the recruitment, the data collection, the initial analysis, the validation, the calibration. But you have an updated handout that pushes that out to 2029, just because it's an in-depth process to be able to take it all in, find out what we have, validate it, and then put it into the model.
What role does each of our jurisdictions' traffic studies have in this? You can say no. I mean, you can say it doesn't.
That's a great question. May I phone a friend here?
Yeah.
All right, Kyle so Kyle Shipley is the supervisor on the transportation modeling and analysis group side. So what would the jurisdiction travel inputs be, travel data?
Yeah, hi, I'm Kyle Shipley, as Becky mentioned. So it's usually the other way around, where our travel model is used in the traffic studies. However, we do use data from those studies. In particular, those studies do a much finer granularity on whatever particular corridor they're studying. They collect additional data, such as traffic counts along that corridor. We reach out to all of the local jurisdictions and get that observed data. Sometimes it's speed, sometimes it's traffic data, and then we take that, and that's part of our validation process.
Okay. Thanks. This is mostly about mode, though? Is that correct in my understanding the
It's- it-
premises?
Mode is part of it. It's more the behavioral, it's more the where did you go? How did you get there? Did you have other choices to get there? How long did it take you?
That leads me right into my good friend Josh Chapman's jurisdiction. And I don't know in the original, how many you had or the 3,000, you have student-based or specialty populations.
Yes.
And so how do you, is that included in there? You have a lot of folks that walk or commute by bike within a very small area and never go outside their area. Is that included?
Yes. Yes, that would be included. Yeah, you're able to slice and dice the data to look at those clusters of data as far as the different populations who are
And
prone
then-
to travel in a certain way in specific geographic areas.
And then my last question, thank you for everybody's patience, but in 2024, I think it was, when we did our board peer region tour, I got the right name, okay? To Denver. One of the, one of the discoveries was that not e-bikes, but scooters were using and going greater distances. I wasn't sure I heard that type of micro transit, on-demand transit captured in this mode study. Will it be?
That is something we can certainly add. We will need to take a look at that because that wasn't part of the 2018 discussion, as a lot of those services have expanded greatly and people are more not necessarily dependent on them. Well, some people are dependent on them and then some people use them as a complement to their primary mode of travel.
Director Howard, and these are good questions. You've got more of them. I would say, and I'm going to look to Becky to make sure she can just verbally kick me under the table here if I'm wrong. This is one really important data source. And my understanding is the reason it's really important is we can really attach it to people, demographics, and that's something that it is not the only data source, right? And so we do use a lot of big data. We have a tool called Replica, which is sort of infused with a lot of big data and cell phone and GPS. We've done presentations for the board. It's probably been a while on big data and how we use big data. We've also got some local data on micromobility, all of which, again, we could bring back to you if the board is interested. It's a perfect lunchtime topic. So that I would say, don't think of this as the be all end all. It's just a very important input to update into the travel model to make it timely.
You go.
Thank you, Director Root.
Hi, how are you?
Great, thanks.
I will tell you, I know that research is expensive. When I saw 1.2 million, I was like, that is a big ASSI number. It's just so big. So I guess I'll just start with, how is it budgeted? So I'm just curious, where is it coming from?
Yeah, so, sorry, my mic's really hot. This is, we're intending. Oh, let's try this one over here. Okay, James has the good mic. All right, so the budget for this is in the draft budget that will be going to the board next month. We're planning to spend some reserves. So we have built up reserves, and not our operating reserves, but we have other unrestricted reserves. So for the first year, we're planning to budget 700,000 in reserves as a one-time cost because we don't think we're in a place where we can do an ongoing sample, which is one of the other things that some of our larger peers are doing, where they have small samples that they run every single year. This is a single project, as Becky had noted. And so 700,000 first year, the 500,000 either in the second year or kind of spread out over multiple years, depending on how the contract's structured, but all coming out of reserves.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
sure.
And I have a few, so just step in. So is the majority of the dollars going to the participants of the surveys, or how is that kind of being spread? Is it going to the contractors, I think, who will be doing this work? Are we doing it in-house? Maybe help me there a little bit.
Sure, it's mostly going to a contractor. So that would be the request for proposals that we would issue in a lump sum to be able to devise the survey instrument itself. So finalizing the questions and asking them in the way that provides the most useful data, designing the website, designing the app, designing the outreach materials, doing the actual outreach itself to those initial 4,000 or so people we would look at from 2018, collecting the data, getting it into a format where our team could start to do something with it, doing that next phase of recruitment and data collection for the next sample of people. And then they would also maintain a monitoring dashboard for us, and it's by census block, so we could see where we were getting the results, not the results, where we were getting the response rates that we're aiming for to get a good sample from each part of the region and also different demographics within the region. And so then they would go out and do some oversampling as needed so we could get a more representative sample. So that's part of the fee they would be receiving. There is a stipend, a very small stipend that goes to participants. In 2018, people who filled out the one-day survey online received $10 per adult with a max of 2 adults per household, or if they participated in the week-long survey using the app, it would be $20 per adult, max 2 adults per household. So there is a participatory fee that people would receive, an incentive payment. And that's consistent with what other MPOs have done. We're doing some benchmarking now to see if any of them have increased the amount that they're paying.
I'm going to jump in just a little bit. And
Sure.
so that was at least one of my questions when I saw the $10. I think if I'm reading it right, it's $10 per adult, and is it a max 20 per week? Did I read that correctly?
So some people do just a one-day survey that they do on the website. And so they would receive $10 per adult, max 2 adults per household for the one day. And if
Mhm.
they do the week long, it's $20 per adult, max 2 adults per household for a week long one.
Is that so? Just for clarification's sake, so when I participate in the survey for the entire week, I get $20 for the week, or am I getting $20 per day?
You're getting $20 for the entire week.
I'm curious if your staff have thought about, and maybe it sounds like you have, if that's enough, at least from my experience going out and getting participants to fill out data to actually get the response rate that we are intending to get. Is that something that you guys have discussed? And I would say the reason I'm asking is it's 1.2 million. It sounds like a majority is going to be going towards the contractor. And my guess is you're going to need quite a bit more to get the responses that you want.
If I can jump into that was a lot of conversation in our
Perfect.
policy and innovation.
We haven't had it.
Because, yeah, exactly. Because we had that same thought is for people to take it serious is $20 for a week of all that detail. And so we
My
talked
experience
about
is no.
doubling that. Yeah. Because we want them to, be
You want
focused and pay
them to fill it out, and you also want a decent response rate.
Yeah, that was definitely one
imagine.
of the
Director Early, or Chair Gallardo, if I could, look, these are great questions, right? When we talked about this internally at our management team, that's a huge price tag. We had all the same questions. Can't we get this from big data? Can't we get this from other sources? And we, at least at this moment, to do this travel model that has the benefits that Becky just walked through, we don't see any other way to do it, to be able to validate it so that all of you can use it. So 2 things. One is we wanted to get the authorization now and start moving, but there is absolutely a strategy here we'd like to deploy around getting contributions from our partner agencies, because there's so much benefit and value to this model in the region, cities and counties, but also a lot of consultants and developers, number 1. 2, we have flexibility. I believe we have flexibility on the stipends.
Okay.
So I think we're using dollars from 2018.
Those were the 2018 dollars, and we're
Just to
doing.
give you a
yeah.
sense. So we do have some flexibility built into the RFPs to figure out what is the price that would actually get enough people to participate.
That's helpful. James, when you're saying you're thinking about going out to some of the jurisdictions, would that be to augment the 1.2 million or to
No,
supplant some of it?
to contribute to the
Okay.
total cost.
Okay, that is helpful. Just a couple more questions, promise. I'm a data scientist, so. In regards to the region, you've touched on the fact that we're going to be sampling from the region. Does that mean all of our jurisdictions are going to be represented here? When you say region, are you thinking county? And then specifically, is it all of our counties or a segment of them?
It's all jurisdictions, and we validated that the 2018 household travel survey data included every single SACOG jurisdiction.
Amazing. 2 last questions. Do you have an idea of how many questions you're going to be asking in your survey?
Not yet.
Okay, that is totally fine.
Mhm.
I will I will actually.
Yes, you're asking great.
No,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Branston.
Thank you. I'm surprised. There must be an enormous amount of commercially available data. For heaven's sakes, my iPhone, when I wake up in the morning, I'm going someplace, if I've gone there before, at about the same time, it offers me directions. And I don't know what the other sources of data may be, but before I spend $1.2 million, I'd want to know what those are, synthesize them, and then come up with a case that this is going to be better. Or without this, this is meaningless. Anyway.
Dr. Branscombe, I think,
That's a quick comment. One last comment. Where's this data go? What's the actual use of this data?
It goes into our travel model that we use for all of the different inputs to make the different, like everything that went into the blueprint, that's a result of the model, just
Okay.
to
The
determine.
reason I asked that question is and suspicious is the wrong word, but I'm concerned about any data like this because it wasn't that long ago, someone from the California State Transportation Agency, that agency which oversees Caltrans, Highway Patrol, and others, said, well, you know, cars right now, the average mileage per vehicle in the state is now 9,500 miles. We want it to be 5,000 miles. So whenever I hear something like that, and I'm hearing about collections of data, what's the goal? What is the goal?
Director
Now,
Branson, can I
is it
give
just-
you an,
pardon me if I
can I
may
give you an
finish.
example?
I may finish. If it's just to understand what's going on locally, fine, but if it's going to get fed into something like that, I'm concerned.
May I give you an example? Again, you know, that's why we had, this is a bit of a lengthier presentation and we had a good discussion, the Policy Innovation Committee, and we wanted Becky to walk through, right? This is the benefits of this, right? How this is being used and in some detail. So it is the regional travel model, but to be clear, that regional travel model is incredibly useful to many of your jurisdictions. For example, doing your EIRs on a general plan or a specific plan or a development project. All of this flows from a travel model that needs to be updated from our 2018 data. And then just because it's important, these are important questions, they're good questions. The reason that we can't go and buy a bunch of private data that you have from your cell phone and my cell phone and everybody's cell phone is because it is anonymized. And so the reason to do the survey, kind of like you're doing a poll, right, is to actually understand the demographics and the crosstabs, if you will. And we don't see any other way to get around that, to actually get those demographics that are so important for the town.
One quick suggestion, if you do go forward with this, I would suggest an app. Just provide an app to the people participating for their phone and you'll have the data. And you won't have to worry about them missing recording something.
Director Soon.
Thank you, Chair. You know, as my colleagues on the Policy Innovation Committee know, I had a lot of questions about this too, but I just want to say, you know, I think about for the adoption of the 2025 blueprint, for those of us that were on here, we had a lot of questions about the data, about how was electrical vehicles incorporated, how was telecommuting or teleworking incorporated into what the plan that we were being asked to adopt. And so while I appreciate the comments around efficiencies and looking for cost savings, I would also look to or want to put forth value in understanding the uniqueness of our region and how these travel modes and patterns are happening, so that when the 2031 blueprint conversation does come up, we rely on this data. Not going to question on, you know, if we bought it from a certain source, did it look at certain things specific to our region? Was it cut and diced a certain way? This is us tailoring it for what we need for future conversations, not just our projects that we talk about, but when we come back to the next blueprint conversation, there will be less scrutiny around what was going in, that old phrase about garbage in, garbage out. You know, my hope, my expectation is that the investment that we make today is what we will be able to rely upon tomorrow. So I just want to say that I know 1.2, it sounds like a lot of money, but I would say, you know, even if I had to spend a little more, so long as I knew the value of it, that what we were getting is what we need for these conversations in years to come, it's worth it. Thank you.
Yes.
Madam Chair, if we're ready for a motion, I'll make.
Oh, we got a couple more questions.
Oh,
tonight. We got a little
couple
lineup first.
more.
So
Please.
I'm new to this, right? So I'm filling in for Gary. But I have a couple questions. So I understand like Plumas Lake has a lot of commuters and a lot of people that might take different modes of transportation. It might be good to capture changes from 2018 to now. But for Sutter County and Yuba County as a whole, the data doesn't seem like it would be really fruitful, especially with the local planning we do with our transit agency and the money we've invested locally for understanding how people flow throughout our county. And we had an RFP not too long ago where we were kind of looking at the future of the resilient transit system in Yuba County and Sutter County. And it used a lot of like the Google data, and it could easily be seen where it was coordinated with bus stops and things like that in and out. And it was analyzed, everything looked good there. But my question is, will a small county like ours benefit? Is there going to be questions on there like, did you ride a tractor to work? Or did you commute in a semi? Is there going to, the things that are kind of special to Yuba and Sutter counties? And then on the outcome side, I just hope this doesn't direct money away from transit projects in these smaller areas, because anytime we give data and it supports Sacramento, it supports Folsom, and it supports all these giant municipalities, I know they end up having to come to the table with more money than Yuba County does, but they also end up with a bigger piece of the pie. So I would just say, while we're looking at the data, just the uniqueness of the SACOG region, keep it in mind that the small decisions when we're stacking up data against why Sacramento needs more transit service or why a specific development needs more service, there's this whole outlying area that isn't well represented. And if we could just keep that in our mind, I'd appreciate it.
So specialized work vehicles is, I guess, the best way we could do it. Thank you. And Director Early had one more question, and then we'll get back up.
I know, James, you've kind of addressed this, and Darren, you did as well. I'm just curious on the add-on of the 3,000. Have you guys contemplated the Sac State survey that goes across the region as well as potentially tapping into that? Because I know they're sampling the same folks every year as well. Is that an odd question?
I'll have to look into what the Sac State survey
I actually think
includes.
SACOG participates
Which
in it.
We'll tell you what, we actually do have something very recent with Valley Vision that we've done on that, but we'll look back. We'll take that as an input. So we'll look back and see what we can glean if there's anything.
The counties largely overlap, and that I'm just thinking that may be an area where you could save money, and also because they're sampling the same folks every year as well, it might be interesting from a data perspective too.
Sure, thank you.
Director Lopez-Taft.
Yes, thank you. I actually have a question in a different vein, and it's talking about the budget. If we are going to do this survey, and it obviously is of value, and it's roughly right now $1.2 million, do you have a plan for budgeting in the future? Because it seems like just the tone of the conversation is, we suddenly realized we had to do this, and we're doing it. So is there a particular cadence of execution of this survey on a regular basis so it informs the budget and also informs the jurisdictions who you're hoping to participate in this line item?
Sure. Thank you for the question. So the last survey we did, as Becky mentioned, was done in 2018. Prior to that, we actually hadn't done it through 2000. And so we're really trying to strike a balance. It's not necessarily something we want to do every few years, but we also don't want to do it every decade. And so I think, at least for now, we're thinking that this will get us through our major plan update that will come in 2031. And so somewhere in the late 2029s, early 2030s, right? As we look to the next plan after that would be the next time. And so I think we see quite a bit of distance, which is why we see it as a one-time expenditure, but it's definitely something as we're looking at our long-range budget forecasting. how do we budget for that? How do we save funds to, pay for this when it is kind of an episodic thing that happens, less than every, half decade or so would be our ideal goal for that.
We're also benchmarking with other MPOs who have more frequent surveys to see what funding mechanisms they have and how frequently they do theirs on a more rolling, regular basis.
Dr. Haddishell. Oh, I'm sorry. Clear C and then
Sorry,
Lynn Bay.
that's okay.
So-
No, sorry, it was just kind of self, I just don't see how this helps Sutter County. And if somebody could just explain to me how it would help our region. I just don't see how it helps Sutter County. I understand the benefit of the survey. And I think that who's been named of kind of like which jurisdictions or who's gonna benefit from it. I think they should participate in funding it.
You want my perspective on it? Okay.
Yes.
That was terrible.
Director
So,
Cleary.
hold on.
He was gonna answer his question.
Oh, okay, go ahead and answer his question.
Who's the chair?
I don't. know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Director Clarici and then we'll
Okay.
get back to him.
All right, this is something. If we need this, because when you go get some funding, they ask you, have you done a household travel survey in the last umpteen years? And you say no, and it puts you in a negative position. If you go after funding and it puts you in a negative position, then you might say, yeah, spending $1 million to get $10 million or $20 million is worth it because it helps augment something or other. I've always suggested, having actually done this a couple times in my professional life and decades ago now, but I suggest that we all take this survey and try to guess what the answers are going to be. Because I know for my neck of the woods, Brian will probably tell you, if you ask people, how did you do what you did today from a transportation standpoint, 90-something% are going to say, I got in a car, I got in a truck, I drove where I was going to go, I took 4 trips. People take more trips than they think sometimes, fewer miles than they think, but more trips than they think. And then some sampling will say, yeah, I had to take a bus or I carpooled or something. My challenge always is when you do these kinds of surveys, what you discover is people use a car or truck or something to get around. That's kind of the nature of things. There are certain populations that don't, and they have to be attended to, and we should not ignore them. Whether it trips the model or not is what I'm always curious about, because will you gather enough data that when you stuff it back into the model that person back there does it really make a meaningful difference? Or do you end up taking this data and you move it to a spreadsheet? Because that's a lot of times some of this stuff that doesn't really have enough gas to change the model, take it to a spreadsheet, you do some work and you come back with an answer. So I suggest that we all do a little exercise and guess what the folks in our neighborhoods are doing and see how it actually comes out with your sampling here. Because my guess is people will come close. They'll come real close to having the answer. Why this is going to cost $1.2 million is woof. That seems pricey to me. But if it gets us in a better place, we might have to just suck it up, do it, stuff it in the model, have the model tell us something, and then we can go get money later on. And sometimes you spend money just to do that.
So one of the missing
Good luck.
one of the missing pieces is the behavioral aspect, which is understanding why people are making those choices. Are they taking transit because they have to? Are they? So it's so your cell phone data might show you where you're going, but you're not understanding what the driving factor is behind that.
Once again, in our neck of the woods, they're taking a car or a truck because that's what they'd rather do. And if they can't, then they find another way to get around. Now, there's probably no doubt in parts of this region where they would take transit if it was available and convenient. People use transportation if it's convenient and if the price point is somewhat similar to what they would do for the alternative. That's kind of been a thing since the dawn of time. And if you can't afford a car or a truck, then you take transit and hopefully it's convenient and you can get around.
Director Cleary, can I?
But that's my opinion. I'm sorry. You're wandering into my headspace, which is not a good place to be.
These are important questions. This is a big price tag. As I said, we had all the same questions. I just want to go back to the importance of doing this. It isn't just so we can go to some agency and get money, because without it, we couldn't. This is the thing that undergirds your local plans, your general plans, your EIRs. if you have something that is more up to date, we've not done this since COVID. If you have something that is more up to date, you have more defensible EIRs, all of you, right? The entire region. So look, first of all, if you want to actually, because we typically get this to be authorized, go out for an RFP, we don't know what the market will bring, right? $10, $20 was 2018 prices. We may have to shrink what we're able to do. If you want, we can bring the final contract back to the board for approval as well. If you're interested and you want that oversight, happy to do that. So that's an option.
I think, bring it back. I say we do have, the right side of the room needs an opportunity.
No, they
Thank you for the
won't.
balance,
Okay.
yeah. I guess my big question goes back to Director Clarici's. Is this a pay-to-play thing? Do we have to do this to be, to have viable applications for the grants?
You've got to do this for a lot of reasons. I mean, we do use modeling in a lot of our state applications for, the California Transportation Commission and SB1 funds are, again, our modelers, we don't tout this a lot, but are running analyses, right? So that we can say, hey, here's the benefit to the cost of this grant that we're applying for. So that's one of the use cases of many use cases.
Thank you.
I might jump into it and say, this is such a great conversation and very similar to what we did at Policy and Innovation. And as we went through, and then ended up being, I believe, a unanimous support, where it really came down to, because a lot of us talked about how does it benefit my jurisdiction, or does it? And the conversation really came around, since COVID, we don't have, things have changed and we need to know what's changed. And then truly that we're here to say, does it benefit us as a region to have this knowledge base? And then we'll find out how it helps with our individual jurisdictions. That's where the support ended up coming from Policy and Innovation. Any other questions?
I
can be extremely brief.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so just to echo what Director Soon said, our board evolves over time and there's new members and, a lot of changes to this panel. But over the last several years, we've had to lean back into the data that we have available to us for all manner of decision-making. And there has been a constant drumbeat that we need to either have better data or some of what we have may not really apply exactly any longer because of the changes that occurred from COVID. So I just want to echo the need for the data. And here's a really unpopular opinion. The cost of doing things like this is substantial, no matter how you slice it up. And based on our population, we're talking about, 50 cents a person in our region. It's just not, unfortunately, it's a large number, but, realistically, it's not that large of a number relative to what we're trying to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hume. Hey, the right side's got to turn.
Oh,
My question is super quick and
quicker than Kozlowski's?
very. I'm just curious, because I agree with what was just said, and I agree that it costs money to gather this information and compile it and make it meaningful. Can you explain why we are going back to the same households that we queried in 2018? It seems like we might want a more refreshed snapshot than hearing the same thing from the same people.
So we'll be doing both of those. The first phase will be going back to the 3,900, 4,000 people who responded in 2018, hoping that about 500 of those households will respond. That type of longitudinal data is extremely valuable. That will help us see how much has changed with the same population of people, going back to that sample. Then we're going to go out to a whole new set of people to get another sample, hopefully around the 3,000 to 4,000 range, similar to what we gathered in 2018, to get a whole new set of data from totally different people. So we have that baseline from 2018. We want to see what's changed or what's the same. And then we'll have a different set of people with whom we interact.
Thank you.
All right, in the interest of getting this 3-year process started, otherwise we'll never get it started,
That's
right? I'm going to make a motion.
Early seconds.
What motion would you be making?
I'd like to move staff's approval of starting the household travel survey scope of work.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Too late. I already seconded.
We got a second.
All right, we have a motion and a
We're-
second to approve. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There's no public comment.
All right, and I'll bring it back for a roll call vote, please.
All right, directors, when I call your name, please indicate your vote. Andriata.
Aye.
Baines.
Aye.
Boomgarden.
Aye.
House for Bradford. Aye for Bradford. Branscombe.
No.
Houlihan.
Aye.
Chapdelaine.
Yes.
Chapman.
Aye.
Clark Kretz.
Yes.
Clarici.
Aye.
Desmond.
Aye.
Dowd Calvillo.
Aye.
Early.
Aye.
Gallardo.
Aye.
Howdeshell.
Aye.
Hume.
Aye.
Jennings.
Yes.
Jones.
Aye.
Kennedy. Kozlowski.
Aye.
Lauren.
Aye.
Maple. Absent. McCauley. Yes, she said, no, for the record, she didn't say aye. Rodriguez. Sander. Absent. Lopez Taft for Schaefer.
Aye.
Dune.
Aye.
Teeter. Absent. Bierkamp.
Aye.
Vega. Absent. Villegas. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are moving on to our information item, on item 12, the board policy update, and Michael Mauer, our counsel, will give us a quick
Thank you, Chair.
presentation.
I'll do a quick one here. So we do this every year at this February meeting, and it's just a reminder of some of the requirements that we have at SACOG. So there are 3 policies that we've included with this, just going in my own order here. The first would be the board travel policy, which is just a reminder to you all, if you are traveling on behalf of SACOG, in order to get reimbursed, it needs to comply with the travel policy. So please just make sure you familiarize yourself with that. The second would be the board code of conduct. The code of conduct's especially important for a board like this, that's a regional agency where you're all coming from different areas, different constituencies, a bigger board like this. It's obviously something, as you can see from the prior discussion, that at least in my time here at SACOG has never been an issue with how everyone conducts themselves here. But part of that's a commitment to following the code of conduct and to continuing to do that. So it's a good annual reminder. And if we'd ask that you take a look at it, read it, take it to heart. And then the last one we've attached is the non-harassment policy. This one, from the legal standpoint, something that's very important. As a reminder for all of you, you're not just a board here, you're also employers, you're the head of the organization, and that comes with certain responsibilities. So please familiarize yourself with the non-harassment policy. Understand that that's critical to us from both a legal standpoint, a morale standpoint. We really need everyone to comply with that particular policy. And then the last thing I'll add, it's not something we've attached here, not a policy, but just a reminder that when you're sitting here at this board, the same conflict of interest rules that you're familiar with at all your home agencies apply. And the one I always tend to highlight is the Levine Act, which is the one that applies to campaign contributions. Being 2026, many of you may be having campaigns running for re-election this year. And so please keep that in mind. Be mindful that those rules do apply here. At the beginning of the agenda, where we have the item to note any conflicts, the conflict out, make sure you're doing a real check, because we certainly don't want to run into an issue where you've approved a contract with someone who's also made a campaign contribution to you while you're in that campaign process. So happy to answer any questions, but just a quick update, a quick reminder. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions on those policies? All right. Seeing none, I'll move on to our next item, our
For the
workshop.
record, Chair, there's no public comment on that.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Our workshop, looking forward to this, our advancing housing affordability in the region. And our case study is going to be with the city of Folsom. Our Chelsea Lee from SACOG will be leading this off, and then Director Kozlowski will be introducing his team and leading this off as well.
Okay, right now, I'm up. Okay, fantastic. Well, hey, we're delighted to be able to show off some of the interesting things that we've done in Folsom in support of our, regional goals for housing particularly. It's interesting, maybe to me only, but I'm going to share a couple of things. So Folsom is turning, as an incorporated city, turning 80 this year. And yeah, and the evolution of our city, we have residents who remember the entire evolution over those past 80 years on hand to let us know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. And for a long stretch of that time, we had one big employer, the prison, and we had the prospect of a dam being built. And then we had a dam, right? And that was about it. And other than that, Folsom was a ranching community that also had prison guards that lived there. So we were real small, and housing wasn't that big of a consideration. It was a tiny little foothills town, like many of the others that sit on this board. And then in the 70s, it started to evolve into something else. And over the last 50 years, it's become a center for technology businesses like Intel, and it's become a dramatically larger place with a lot of single family housing. And we sort of hit a tipping point in the, I would say, the early 90s, where the mix of housing had become severely imbalanced relative to the needs of the people that live in Folsom and their offspring, where we didn't really have a good story to tell any longer. We had been a really affordable place for single family housing for a long time. So people drove until they qualified, that old chestnut. And Folsom was that place. But there became a point where the housing in Folsom started to become less affordable, and everybody's kids didn't have apartments to go rent, and our senior citizens didn't have great places to go. So we've been on this long arc, and sometime in the 90s, it became plain that we needed a larger share of affordable housing in Folsom. So with that in mind, the evolution of the mindset of what's affordable and what that housing should look like has also been a bit of a journey for our city council. We had absolute knockdown, drag out rows over quote unquote affordable housing in the 90s and into the early 2000s, where people were just absolutely against it. They thought it's gonna ruin our property values, and none of that ever came to pass. Every bit of affordable housing that we've built has actually made the place more vibrant, and our property values have done nothing but go up. So anyway, that's a credit to the fact that over the years we've had fantastic planning staff, really, really good ones that are smart and thoughtful. And we rely really heavily on the one person that's here today to present to us, Desmond Parrington. He's part of that long history of great planning staff. And strangely, and maybe fantastically, regardless of other disagreements on the city council over any number of other topics, there has been unanimity of purpose on our city council for more than 2 decades, probably a full 3 decades on this particular topic, and we remain dedicated to it. And I wanted to introduce my colleague and our current mayor, Justin Rafel, give him a chance to pile on or say something different before we get into the presentation.
Sounds good. Thanks for inviting me today, and thanks for letting me be here. I especially appreciated Director House's comment calling Folsom municipal giant. I've never heard that in any other board meeting, so I'm definitely taking that one home with me today. We've had a number of affordable projects, and we've actually had a lot of discussion, at least in Sacramento County locally, about affordable housing funds lately, and some fun media coverage about that discussion that's going on. But I think this project is one that received more support than any other project in our jurisdiction. Some of them, caused more controversy, but this one, there was a little controversy over it and making it fit in the neighborhood that was there. But I think this was one of my favorite ribbon cuttings to go to last year, where you show up and a large cross-section of our community had shown up to welcome these new 10 homeowning families to be a part of the Folsom community. And so I just kind of wanted to share my personal experience with going to that ribbon cutting and being able to welcome these families and being amongst my community to see them get their keys and have them move in. And I also got to go to a work day there with city staff where we helped build the houses. And so I think that was a really fun process also for our community that really got us invested in an affordable project in our community. So just a big thank you to staff, to SACOG for the support, and to Habitat for the partnership. I think this is a model that we can use again in the future. And I think we are all actively looking for an opportunity to do so. So with that, I'll turn it over. Thank you for letting me be here today.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair and directors. I think Director Kozlowski and the mayor just did my job for me, so I'll make this short. So I'm also here today to tee up our conversation and introduce our presenters. We're really excited to host this workshop for y'all and hope it generates some really thoughtful questions and points of reflection. So you've adopted the blueprint and we're now moving towards implementation. So this workshop is intended to build off of the visit that we had from Chuck Marone last October, if you remember that from the Strong Towns Network. And Chuck had came and talked to us about sort of best practices occurring nationally, right, in Detroit and other cities about how to address some of the nation's, housing challenges with respect to affordability and housing supply. So as a continuation of that, right, the board had expressed interest in understanding sort of what's going on around our region with respect to these issues. And so today we're joined by our panelists, Desmond Parrington with the city of Folsom and Leah Miller, president and CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Greater Sacramento, to highlight the case study on 300 Percival Street, which is an infill housing project funded by Green Means Go. And they will also be joined by Mia Kong, who is the secretary for the Council of Infill Builders. Mia's presentation will follow, and she'll be speaking to some of her organization's work on advancing statewide legislation to facilitate more condominium development, more missing middle housing in our region, as well as in the state of California. So now I will pass it over to our outstanding panelists.
Thank you, Chelsea. I'm Desmond Parrington, planning manager with the city of Folsom. Wanted to talk about Folsom's approach to housing affordability. We've really, because funding is limited, we've tried to take a multifaceted approach using a variety of different kind of tools and methods to tackle affordability. So as you see here up on this slide, we've used everything from gap financing to discounted land sales to use of grants and other resources in support of land use and zoning change, but also individual affordable projects. We've also done fee deferrals. We're actively promoting accessory dwelling units, and we're trying more recently to encourage small homes because while we've got a lot of single family homes, what we're not seeing is kind of those starter homes for new households, new families. And I think one of the things that we're trying to balance here is I think there's a growing concern, not just in Folsom, but I think region-wide of and potentially statewide of, okay, is your choice only between a single family home and an apartment that you're basically stuck in forever because the apartment rents are so high you can never save for a down payment? Where is that missing middle? Who is building it? How do we get more of that in our community? How do we create those home ownership opportunities for new homeowners? And how do we do that? Obviously we've done that in partnership with Habitat, but we're looking at also ways of doing that more broadly. So I'll touch on some of the gap financing examples. We've done about just a little under 1,100 units since 2005. We've used primarily our in lieu fees from our inclusionary program, along with money collected from our housing trust fund fee. So as you can see, we spent about $36 million over the last 20 years on affordable housing projects. And we've done, quite a few in the community. These are some examples. I won't go into details because I know we're a bit pressed for time, but these are some of the projects that have been done recently in Folsom. In terms of land sales, we actually used city property and then sold it as at a steep discount to Habitat. We're going to actually be having a workshop with our council to explore other ways of using our housing fund rather than just doing the traditional gap financing, so we can provide that range of housing opportunities and that range of housing choices. And so that's where kind of the Habitat project plays into that. These were 10 deed restricted affordable homes right near City Hall on our former old library site. As our mayor mentioned, just really well received, fit into the community really well. And it's just wonderful to see that opportunity for first time home ownership in the community. We've also used grants and other resources. So we've leaned heavily and much thanks to SACOG for the Green Means Go program, we've been able to use those grants not only to make major kind of land use and policy changes, but also to help individual projects with infrastructure challenges that they've run into, including the Habitat Project. We've also used the Home Key program through the state to actually convert an existing older hotel into supportive housing for homeless individuals. And then we've used the permanent local housing allocation that we get from Sacramento County. We use that again for the Habitat Project. This is an example of the Bidwell Studios. That's the former hotel that has 25 units of deed restricted housing for formerly homeless individuals. One of the major efforts that we did was we did a series of general plan amendments to really look at where we could target density and intensity of development that would do a couple different things. One, it would make sure that, not only in this housing element cycle, but in our next housing element cycle, that we had sufficient capacity to address our need in terms of denser housing, and particularly for lower income folks. And then it was also important that we put that housing near transit, near existing jobs and new existing services. And so we targeted our major commercial corridor, which is the East Bidwell corridor. We also targeted areas around our Iron Point and then our Glen light rail stations. We also upped the heights allowed. We got rid of maximum density. We had set a minimum density instead. That was again to qualify these areas in our housing element. And then we looked to rely on FAR, floor area ratio, rather than just density, because density, when you talk about a project that's 60 dwelling units per acre, that could actually be a fairly small project. So density really, I think, creates confusion with the public. So we kind of switched over to FAR because that's the rate, basically the relationship of the structure to the land. And so then we did the same thing down in the Folsom Plan area. We rezoned a couple sites, and then we really upped the intensity in that central area, which is going to be our future mixed-use town center. We also worked with the landowners to deed restrict properties down there for up to almost 900 units of affordable housing. And then in addition to that, we had one project already built down there that I showed earlier called Mangini Place. We've also adopted objective design standards for those areas. So this was kind of our partnership with the community to say, hey, if we're going to do higher density in this area, it needs to be designed well. And so we're going to roll out these objective design standards because those are the only design rules that you can use under state law now. We've also used fee deferrals and density bonuses for most of these projects. This is an example of the Vintage Apartments that's being developed across from just up the street from City Hall. And then we just recently approved, and it's under construction currently, the Harrington Grove Apartments that's focused on lower income families. We've actively promoting ADUs. We have an accessory dwelling unit handbook that walks residents through the entirety of the process. We're in the process of updating that, given all the changes in state law, but it's a helpful guide to homeowners in the city that are looking to do their own ADU. It talks about everything from financing to design. We've also encouraged and reduced fees on ADUs, and we've been working actively with the production home builders down in the Folsom Plan area, also known as the Folsom Ranch area, to encourage them to do these kind of internal suites. They're also called multi-generational or next-gen housing, where there's an internal suite that basically qualifies as an ADU. We don't charge impact fees on those, and we're actually using that to count a percentage towards our regional housing needs allocation for low income. This is a way to get that additional housing into the community without it really being noticeable. And then lastly, there's been a push to try and get the builders to do more kind of smaller homes for first-time home buyers. And in the last 5 years in the Folsom Plan area, only 43 of the thousands of homes that were developed were 1,500 square feet or less. And so the council kind of made a policy statement of, hey, look, we know this is not a huge discount, but we want to encourage these, and we're going to remove the inclusionary, our in lieu fee from those smaller homes because we want to send a message and try to incentivize that. So, Toll Brothers, for example, has been doing these kind of half plexes, and we've got some other developers that are starting to do more of this. So we wanted to encourage that, and rather than just have your typical 2,000 to 3,000 square foot homes in the Folsom Plan area. So that wraps up my presentation. Oh, sorry, just to talk a little bit about our progress to date. We had a very large RENA allocation, and 56% of that 6,000 number you're seeing up there was for low and very low income housing. And so we're still in the process of updating those numbers, but we've accomplished about half of that. A lot of that production has been, of course, above moderate, like you're seeing in the rest of the region, but we are making a lot of good progress on moderate housing, and we are continuing to do the low and very low income. The challenge we all face with the gap financing is that, most of those projects are taking somewhere between $2 to $8 million in gap financing. And that's a lot of money that, most jurisdictions don't have. We're lucky enough because of our expansion in the Folsom Plan area to have those funds available. And so, we're about third right now in the region in terms of our progress and meeting our housing element production goals. And we're hoping to continue that. So thank you very much. So I'm going to hand it off to Leah Miller to talk about the Habitat Project. She's president and CEO of Habitat for Humanity in the Sacramento Valley.
Madam Chair, I need one clarifying question.
One quick question for you, Director Habitat.
Okay. Yes.
I heard two I words. Do you have in lieu or inclusionary?
We have an inclusionary ordinance, and you have an option rather than building the units of paying an in lieu fee. And so most of our production builders, because they don't want to be, associated with a 45-year deed restriction on a single family house, typically pay the in lieu fee.
We in Roseville, we set a goal of 10% affordable housing, non-inclusionary. So just want to make sure I understood that.
Yeah.
And then do you partner with landlords on providing affordable housing? You have a housing authority?
No, we do not.
Okay.
We work with SHRA.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You got the figs, right? So, okay.
Before I know a couple, what is your in lieu fee?
So our in lieu fee, we recently updated it. It's $3 per square foot. It was originally 1% of the lowest price sales home in the subdivision. But we felt like that, well, overall, our inclusionary ordinance needed to be updated. It was about 20 years old. And we felt that a per square footage approach was, number one, more defensible. And also for those larger homes, it was kind of more equitable in terms of we got more funding from the larger homes because the Nexus study showed that larger homes typically resulted in more low-wage job creation.
Thank you. And I believe Director Jones had a question also.
That was actually, I was going to ask about your in lieu fees. So does that give you enough money for your gap financing on?
Yeah,
low-income housing?
currently we have about $23 million available in our in lieu fee program, and then we use that for the gap financing. But I think our concern over the long term is that, with most projects typically using about $4 million in gap financing, that can go away fairly quickly. And then I think there's interest in expanding how we use our in lieu fee and our housing fund just overall in terms of what's the best kind of use of that money. Is it buying land, for example, so that we have land for affordable development throughout the city? Is it rather than just reacting to what a developer comes to us with, or is it to help with possibly purchasing older projects or purchasing property or incentivizing condominium development or other things like that. I think there's a real interest in exploring providing a range of housing opportunities, because unfortunately, I think the state and the federal government have this dichotomy of it's either a single family house or it's apartments and or deed restricted apartments. And I think what the community wants to see is a range of options for folks. So.
Well, congratulations,
Chair-
23 million. It's way better than Placer County's doing.
Chair Gallardo, I want to make sure.
Director Soon had a question.
Sorry, I want to make sure that we all understand we've got two other speakers coming too, that we'll ask them to truncate their remarks, but you're welcome to ask questions, but we do want to make sure we give them a chance.
Thank you.
And I'm happy also to answer any questions at the end as well, just so that the other speakers have an
Director
opportunity.
Soon.
Couple quick questions. So in our community down in Elk Grove, a couple of things we're experiencing is some residents are starting to express concerns over the ADUs that are coming in, and so I wanted to get you understand what's going on in Folsom if you're experiencing something similar. And then second question is, we're also seeing for the affordable housing on the above moderate income levels, we're starting to see vacancies in there because the rents are still pretty high. So I'm just wondering if you're having similar challenges in your community.
So with the ADUs, yes, those have been contentious, particularly in our historic district, where I think there's concern about, the homes are a bit closer together in that area. I think there's concerns over privacy. And then there have also been concerns about how the ADUs are actually being used. And so that's been a code enforcement activity as well, going after ADU owners that are using them as short-term rentals, because that's been a problem in the city. With regard to the privacy, we've adopted objective design standards to try to address that on those ADUs that are above the height limit or above the square footage limit. Because if they're less than, well, they've got several different height categories, but basically they're less than 16 feet and less than 800 square feet, you can't do anything about it. But those aren't the ones that are really creating the concern. It's the two-story ones or the ones over a garage that we're getting more of the concerns about. And again, a lot of them related to privacy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how about the above moderate income level?
Yeah, on the above, we haven't seen that yet. The rental products and the homes seem to be selling at a good clip. We're not seeing a lot of them being vacant, at least so far. I haven't heard that from our code enforcement staff or gotten many in the way of complaints.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. A couple more questions here.
Thank you, Chair. So I am so excited to hear about the smaller homes being built, 1,500 square feet or less. And you say that the developers have been, liking it because you've taken away your in lieu fees in that regard. Can you just kind of go into a little bit more detail on that?
Well, the credit actually goes to our mayor on this one, because he was really pushing to try to do what we could to try to incentivize smaller homes. And, I think, so one of the things that we kind of looked at in other communities were like, what were some of the sizes of homes that were, there's not a lot that's affordable that's being made market rate, but the smaller unit has a greater chance of being more affordable. And I think about my own experience. My first home was 1,200 square feet. And so I don't know who the people are who were, as a first time home buyer, able to afford something that's 3,000, but we've been seeing a lot of the 2,500 to 3,000 square feet, even on some of these smaller lots. And so it was the mayor that really said, well, let's see what we can do to encourage this, given that we were only seeing about 43 in the last 5 years. And the council and our planning commission were very supportive of a couple projects that were either doing condos or something a little bit more unique that was more targeted towards that first time home buyer. And so I think this is part of the larger discussion that we are going to be having now with the city council, is what else can we do to create those types of, home ownership opportunities for folks that want to get out of rental housing, but don't have a next step in Folsom.
And just one last question, the developers are on board with this and they're.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're getting there. Yeah. I think some of them are, and some of them are offering these kinds of products and others are not, but we're working with them. And this is the part of the discussion that we're having is like, hey, if you're doing a large subdivision and you're not offering a range of sizes and range of product types, we don't think you're going to get through the planning commission and or the council. So that's one of the things that we let them know from the get-go.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask if we can hang on to our questions and we can do them all at the end because we've got a couple more presenters and they may answer those questions. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Leah Miller. I'm the President and CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Greater Sacramento. And I recognize a lot of you here in the room because I know a lot of you have come out to build sites, whether it was repairing homes or building homes. And I'm thrilled to be able to share with you a little bit about the development that we did. You already heard a little bit about in partnership with the city of Folsom. So I'll just jump right into it. Those of you who are not familiar with Habitat, we're an organization. We've been around in the region for 40 years, and we both create new affordable home ownership opportunities for income qualified folks, as well as help to preserve existing affordable housing in order to preserve that stock in our community. The site that we're talking about here, you can see on the screen, this was a lot that we were able to acquire as you heard at a deep discount from the city of Folsom, 0.94 acres. It was formerly the site of the city library and fire station with surplus land. And the idea was to develop 10 homes on there. And we worked in partnership with the city to come up with a concept of what that looked like. We were able to subdivide that one lot into 5 Theodore Judah size lots to fit within the historic district where this is located. And the idea was to build single family 4-bedroom homes in the front and then facing the alley, ADU sized homes in the back. Each of the folks who purchased these homes after putting in 500 hours of sweat equity and qualifying for our program as individuals who earned 30 to 80% of area median income purchased their homes with an affordable mortgage and pay monthly property taxes, a mortgage payment, and insurance as a whole. This is what the lot looked like once subdivided and the houses were built. Landscaping's not quite done there, as you can see, but you can see the 2 different floor plans we had there. Those are those starter homes that we were just talking about that Habitat builds. That is what we build as a whole, is those starter homes provide that entryway into being able to become a homeowner, to be able to put down roots, and to be able to build equity in those starter homes. So you can see the 2-story homes that face Persifer were 1,200 square feet, little over that, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 5 of those in total. Facing the alley, we had the smaller units, the cottage size units or ADU size units, 750 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 5 of those in total. It was an interesting development as a whole for a lot of really great reasons. You know, with every affordable housing development, you learn a lot. I'm sure those of you in this room know that. But so we started out with that concept I was sharing with you of looking at doing the 5 lots using AB 587 as a piece of legislation that was passed in order to be able to do tenant in common with 2 separate ownerships. Well, sounds great, right? But as we learned through doing this, that sometimes legislation is created, but financing isn't on pace with the change of legislation. So we learned that some of the state funding we had would not allow us to proceed forward because there weren't separate APNs. In tenant in common, there aren't separate APNs. So we had to change some gears. SB 9 wouldn't work because you couldn't use it in a historic district. But then we were able to do something creative that was the new thing for us, but has become a useful tool not just for our Habitat affiliate, but Habitat affiliates throughout the state. We were able to lay condo maps down on top of each one of those 5 lots that you see there. The only shared space is the air above it. So there is an HO, it's a condo map. There is an HOA, but there's not really an HOA. There's no fees, there's no shared maintenance, there's nothing, but it allowed us to be able to get to the goal of achieving separate APNs for each house. And be able to sell those homes as intended. As I said, we started out with the idea of the 4-bedroom homes and the ADU homes in the back. And as this evolved, they were no longer ADUs, they were cottages, same homes, same floor plans, but it just evolved as a whole. Each one of the homes, you'll see there also, we got a bunch of the city folks in that middle picture there from the home dedication that you heard a little about earlier. Each one of the homes is all electric, EV ready with rooftop solar and solar battery storage, and a lot of energy efficiency upgrades thanks to a partnership with SMUD. And each home, you can see that the cost of each home, that is inclusive of both infrastructure costs and above ground costs. So for the 4 bedrooms, $374,000, for the 2 bedrooms, $294,000. each Habitat home, I heard the comment earlier about the around affordable housing, maybe bringing down the values in neighborhoods. But the thing that's unique about Habitat is that Habitat sells the homes at an appraised price. So you can see the cost of the homes. The homes themselves appraised and were sold for as a 4-bedroom, $560,000 for that starter home. And for the 2 bedrooms, $490 for that starter home. So you can see that the total development cost was $3.2 million. And what Habitat does is always made possible because of a lot of folks coming together to make it happen. The city of Folsom, tremendous, excellent partners. Couldn't be more grateful for the partnership there and the hard work of staff. Also HCD through Cal Home Funding, SMUD, and of course that Green Means Go funding, which was helpful with some of the infrastructure costs that we needed to do as a whole. And also last bit to share there with you is that from the construction as a total took under an entire year, so 11 months to complete. And I'll leave it there, pass it off. I'm gonna get back to Chelsea or Mia. Come on up, Mia.
Hi, good morning. It's still morning. My name is Mia Kong, and I'm actually chairman of the Council of Infill Builders. And I've been spending the last several months working on a way to restore condo delivery in California. So you may want to look at this slide because the reality is we permit less than 1,000 condos a year. Our state population is almost 38 million people. We issue about 100,000 building permits a year. In our peak, in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, pre Title 24, pre 1989 tax reform, we were building more than 300,000 permits a year. We are now stagnant at about 100,000, of which 55% are single family homes. So we build roughly, last year, we issued 55,000 permits for single family homes. We issued about 34,000 for multifamily, of which 1.5% are condos. So 98% of all that multifamily housing are rentals, 100%. Why? Because you don't sue yourself in the rental market. You build virtually exactly the same thing, but there's no carrot for trial attorneys to chase and to cajole homeowners to sue. And it will make your hair curl if you hear the stories of how trial attorneys go after HOAs to get them to sue, because there is a limited window, a 10-year statute of limitation. So what struck me as being really challenging with SB 79 on the docket now, we've got all these streamlining bills. Guess what? We're all building rentals everywhere. So does that really help your property taxes, your increment, your home ownership, your desire to grow your cities, grow your school base, et cetera? No. And those rentals only go in high-end, high job areas, San Jose, San Francisco. You're not necessarily getting them in your most rural places, right? Maybe where you grew up. So how do we fix a system failure? We got to come up with a system fix. So just case in point, again, this is just kind of some information about condos. We virtually build none because we've killed ourselves. We've killed the condo market completely. So why condos now? We have this very small window of time this year alone. And so we're talking with legislators. We have a bill proposal, and I'll go into that in a minute. Our political timing. So what I also do, not only am I an affordable housing developer, I also advocate for state policy to remove barriers to housing. Currently, I'm co-sponsoring, along with 2 other folks, a coalition of YIMBYs and ADU, CASA. We're sponsoring AB 14, I'm working with YIMBY. 1407 is a ward bill that's going to increase pre-sale condominium deposits. So currently in the state of California, if you want to buy a condo and you want to pre-sale, you have to, you can ask for a refund of your deposit up until the day you get a certificate of occupancy. So that gives the builder no currency at all. They can't leverage any of that because of current state law. So we have a bill, AB 1406, in the Senate right now that's going to unlock pre-sale, hopefully up to 30%, where we can do financing. The other bill I'm sponsoring is AB 1070, which is another ward bill, and it's going to modernize the small scale ownership, stuff that people all want to see, because as you know right now, you can only build 2 homes for a single family home lot. But say you've got an acre of land and you want to build 10 houses on that same acre. Unless you subdivide, you can't actually build 10 homes without the third one going into the commercial building code. So even though there is no limit on a single family home, so if you're Jeff Bezos and you want a 30,000 square foot mansion in Tahoe, there's no limit. You can build as much as you want. Yet for the third unit, if you're building 4 ADUs, that third ADU has to go to the commercial building code. So we have a proposal with AB 710 that's going to unlock the residential building code for anything 10 and under. And then there is a current bond initiative out right now. Former Senator Hertzberg is creating this Home Ownership Construction Act, which is going to potentially, it's a bond that we're going to see on the election, this year's election, that will potentially raise dollars for more money that could go to home ownership. Yet we're not building for them. You've heard it. We're not building 1,500 square foot homes. We're not building condos. So we've got to create a mechanism and we can deliver more affordable for sale homes. So I've come up with this condo delivery problem, and we have a playbook. So part of our challenge is that we think California is unworkable, so we got to look to other states. So Canada, our best friends in Canada, have actually solved this. So in Canada, the majority of their home production are, guess what, condominiums that are affordable. So California, we issued 1,000 building permits last year. Last year, Canada issued 81,000 building permits for condos last year for a lot of reasons. So we're going to steal some of their great ideas for California. Here's just a quick snapshot. The data is interesting. And what they build in Canada is everything we want to build in California, but we cannot. Excuse me? Yes, but they're very nice. They don't sue each other like we do here. Their attorneys do like real estate contracts. They don't do like coffee spilt on my lap, I'm going to sue McDonald's for $4.5 million. So, anyway, so quickly, so why does British Columbia matter? Because they've already fixed this problem. They have a warranty. They have what's called certified professionals that process building permits really quickly. So here's what's also interesting. What BC, British Columbia does that California does not is they build regularly 4 to 6 story wood frame condominium buildings. The exact same buildings we see in apartments are condos all over all over Canada. Why? Because there's a market for it. There is certainty in it. They also have townhomes and condo buildings of all different sizes. And they also allow, for example, there's zoning that requires that every single family home lot build 2 to 6 units on it of straight up single family homes. The picture above is actually, it's called the infill house, and there's a big house in front and a big house in back. It's not a little ADU and a big house. They're the same big houses, and they're 2 big houses on one lot, and they face both directions. So that's what they do regularly. They also do tiny homes regularly in huge subdivisions. Why? Because they permit it, because it's easy, because they make it happen, and they build 81,000 condos a year. They also have really robustly transformed the mass timber construction residential. And mass timber, if anyone knows about it, it's planners love to talk about it because it's like environmental and we can build greater buildings, taller buildings, less cost. It's cheaper than type 1 construction, concrete and steel, and they're beautiful. And you can do a lot more with them. And they're building them regularly as condos in Canada. So what we have to shift, the big shift, and I was on a call with the BIA today. I'm working with the BIA. There's a lot of staunch folks who are protective of the system that exists today, period, for all the reasons that exist. So one of the things that we have presented that we're getting good feedback on is creating a similar warranty program that's in Canada. And so I'm working with a very key legislator. I can't name names yet, but very, very likely by beginning of March, we will introduce legislation that will be a condo warranty and accountability that will hopefully fix the problems, allow builders to repair, I like to call it in the box, before we get to SB 800, which is where lawyers are suing. So we create this Kevlar box, as I was calling it, where we repair first and close the liability, period, end stop. And then we have a standardized what is considered a defect. And we do all of this so that we don't end up suing each other. And so we close the risk rather than extending it, and we don't open up SB 800 again for the big fist fights that had happened before. So we'll leave it as it is, but we're creating a giant box where all the condos can optionally elect to be in that absolutely allows the builder to repair first, close the liability, and move on and keep that home affordable. What we're also going to do, which doesn't happen right now, is we're going to reform liability for architects and engineers who perform design work on condominiums. They also get sued and brought into these lawsuits. And so we're going to limit their liability to just their design work, not on the construction side. This is going to help allow architects and engineers to come back into the condo market. Why is this going to work? Because there's no new subsidy. Guess what? This is just words on paper. And it will absolutely change the game without a dollar of state investment. And it preserves local authority, and it complements all the efforts that are going on. It reforms what is broken, and hopefully will allow the spigot to turn on again. So our condo delivery playbook, we've got the Ward Bill 1407, which will unlock pre-sale so that we can actually go to the bank with investment dollars saying we've sold 30% of our units. Lenders, you know, we're going to leverage that. Let me just finish real fast and I'll take questions. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. So it's what's on here. It's 06. AB 1070 is the Ward Bill. That's the 10 and under. It's going to be a pilot to allow cities, progressive cities, to enable 10 and under projects to be under the residential building code. And then we've got the Construction Warranty and Accountability Act, which is going to create the box of warranty that allows repair and closes liability before you even get to SB 800, which is the lawsuit. And then this aligns, if the Hertzberg initiative passes and new dollars are coming forward, then you're going to have the purchasing power for the middle class to buy the product that we hopefully will be building. And so we're creating a pilot, a platform, a protection, and a purchase. And then we will unlock the door to ownership in a system in which we don't have a lot of money right now, but we have one last year of this governor in office, and this could move the needle. All right, I'm done.
Quick question. Don't go away. Quick question.
Get back.
Sorry.
So, Chair Gallardo.
I had too much coffee.
I know this has been a rapid fire, fantastic presentation.
Cut me off.
You have a very brief closed session, very brief. So ask away, but if you can stay, we will,
Right.
we'll
And that's what
appreciate
I
you.
say, our closed session will be very quick. Is hopefully you guys can stay for after, because I think there's a lot of people that, great information, so appreciate it. Kudos to Folsom because you're getting it done and it's a awesome program. But if we can, because in the interest of time, I know folks have to go, we'll do our closed session and then we'd love to hit you up for some questions following.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all of you being here. Much, much appreciated. Great. I know. Great. Great information.
For our,
All right, we're going to move on to our closed session. So we'll ask if the members of the public, if they can step out and we'll do a very quick closed session.
For our members that are online, they're going to just switch off and we'll have a second Zoom link. They'll join back.
Okay. Alice, hopefully the two of you heard if you're online, we're going to hang up on you and get you reconnected to closed session.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. We've returned from closed session.
All right, thank you, Chair. There's nothing to report out of closed session.
Thank you. Well, I know we have, we're reconvening our regular session. We do have reports. I'm going to put mine off until next month in the interest of time. I want to also thank you to our alternates for being here. And of course to our mayor, there he is. I keep losing you. But Mayor Raythel, Supervisor House from Yuba City, and Mayor Lopez from Taft from Citrus Heights. It's a pleasure to have you here. Everyone got the opportunity to sign a card for Director Schaefer, and we're sending our very, very best for him, obviously. Thank you for doing that. I say, I'll do my report next time. James, anything?
Just want to say thank you for filling out your placemats, either online or turn them in. We do have our speakers here, so I know there was a lot of questions we probably suppressed, but please come up, ask questions to any of our amazing panelists. And that's it from me.
Thank you. It's so good to hear from Folsom and what they're up to. I still flash back a couple years ago, I got to see Merle Haggard at a concert at 3 stages at your, and the first thing he said is, I cannot believe they scheduled me to play in Folsom. Well, he's in a different location this time. Just a reminder, our next meeting will be Thursday, the 19th. The meeting's at 10 o'clock, but our tour's at 8 o'clock, and that's really important part of why we're doing these tours. So we look forward to it. Rain or shine, I'm assuming we have a
Rain or
indoor
shine, rain or shine.
All right, so, and at the Sutter Health Park Legacy Club, so, oh yeah, so upstairs, we're good. Yeah, tour at 8, meeting at 10. It's the day before the Savannah Bananas. I was hoping we'd get there at the same time, but thank you for everyone, and I know we've got some questions, and again, thank you to our guests, and with that, our meeting's adjourned.